get this show started with the latest news that has been setting the wrestling world on fire. So last night, after Dragon Lee and his partner captured the AAA World Tag Team Championships from FTR, it was announced that Dragon Lee has been signed to WWE NXT, which I think is a very, very interesting move considering that they just won the AAA tag team titles. Just based off the first impression of this news, I wanted to know what your impressions were and what do you think this means to the wrestling landscape as far as Dragon Lee being picked up and signed.
I'll be honest, I don't know too much about this guy, but I did see it trending on Twitter, and now I see why people were making it a big deal, because you were just against FTR, and a lot of people would think that you would go straight to AEW, but they publicly announced that they're going to NXT. Do you think that was coerced? Do you think that they were told to do that on purpose to be petty? Because I saw that as a little bit of a dialogue on Twitter today.
I don't know. To be honest, if it was meant to be petty or if it was just an opportunity to, kind of do their thing or go about it per usual. Mm-hmm. However, I do think it's an interesting move, but I did want you to finish up though, because I feel like you had something that you wanted to.
No, I mean, I tried watching little clips about it. I thought it was just interesting just because I saw a lot of people going back and forth on it because, some people are in the belief that the promotions are all working with each other because, there's been a lot of forbidden doors that have been broken down throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And there a lot of questions have been about, is WWE in on it? So it's kind of interesting that they would go do a match with FTR and then segue straight into NXT and then make that announcement. I, for some reason, think that all the promotions are in bed with one another every time I see shit like this, but they don't want to admit it because it keeps the ratings going. What do you think?
I actually concur, but for starters, I think Hunter is cooking right now because, I believe Dragon Lee just won that. Well, obviously, they just won those championships. There hasn't been any news of them being stripped of the championships anytime soon, which means that is Dragon Lee going to be an active competitor in NXT and AAA? And then now that begs the question: does WWE NXT have a working relationship with AAA? And do you think that that's going to have some type of ramifications as it pertains to NXT Mexico, as we were talking about, a couple of months back?
Yeah.
So I think that it's a very, very interesting move. Like you said, all the promotions are kind of, I think, working together because for all intents and purposes, AAA was a part of the conglomerate, as I like to say. Essentially, AEW has partnerships with Impact, partnerships with AAA. Obviously, they own Ring of Honor. And so, Tony kind of has his hand in 4 different wrestling companies, most notably AEW and Ring of Honor. But through the partnerships, he has his hand in a lot of other stuff, a lot of other things. So I do think that it's very, very interesting. But, man, Hunter is cooking right now. And I think that this may lead to more deals in which it allows wrestlers from other promotions that are prominent in their respective countries to work with NXT, similar to how AEW works with other promotions and other companies. So I think that it's something to kind of keep an eye out on as far as, Dragon Lee signing. But, man, him being signed to NXT opens up so many doors, opens up so many possibilities of cross-branding, cross-promotion, and just the stuff that he can do in NXT. I really want to see Dragon Lee versus Carmelo Hayes. I think that that's going to be something worth watching, something worth waiting for. Dragon Lee versus Axiom. Now with main roster guys coming back down to NXT here and there, I wouldn't be completely shocked to see a Dragon Lee versus Ricochet match. You know what I'm saying? That's something to keep an eye out for. But I just think that it's a very, very interesting move, and it just shows that 2022 has just been a very, very interesting year in wrestling. I was going to ask if you wanted to build on top of that. Did you have anything else to say, or we can move on?
No, we can move on.
Solid. Well, we want to hear what y'all are thinking as far as how do you feel about this move pertaining to Dragon Lee moving to NXT. But we're going to go from there because speaking of wrestling promotions and speaking of NXT, NXT